Hello everyone and welcome back to your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, where we round up all of the PlayStation and cloud gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games and up there on your podcast preference of choice in the digital clouds. This week you join me and my co-host panel for a fantastic PlayStation show talking about all the new PlayStation Plus games coming, brand new features coming to a PlayStation membership program, new games returning to the platform, and some purchases and acquisitions along the way. But before we do get into all that, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the amazing content we bring you here at Helix Cloud Games, like our live streams, our first looks, our Let's Plays, and all of our other amazing content and shows. This week, I'm joined by the man of many pixels once again. Welcome back to the show, Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello indeed, and alongside him returning to the panel we have our chaotic neutral Rob. Welcome back.
Hey guys.
Welcome to the show. And returning once again from his Platinum Trophy adventures, the trophy tickler himself, Mr. Jeff is back. See, you thought 4 weeks off was going to get rid of this, but it's not.
That's the reason I haven't been able to show up. I was kind of hoping that would get forgotten about. But
that was
traumatized.
It's stuck now, hasn't it?
Traumatized.
But yeah, apologies I couldn't be here previous weeks. Real life's been manic, chaotic,
yes,
and everything else, as you can imagine.
Oh, don't worry. The great thing, our audience knows that the whole point of these is we never let life get in the way. So adult things, work, jobs, friends, family, loved ones, all that. There's always going to be stuff that takes priority over video gaming. As much as we would hate to admit it, that is part of the world we live in. But as I said, gentlemen, we've got a fantastic show. We've got a full cast lined up for episode number 5. And I can't wait to get into it all. But before we do get into all that, special shout out to all of our Helix heroes out there, the wonderful members, over 50 of you who support the channel and support us that extra little bit more. From as little as 99p, you give us that extra bit of focus and determination to bring you better quality content every single week. And as a reward for that, you get stickers and badges next to your name in our live chat. And more importantly, you get early access to our weekly show, CloudQuest. Which, Richie, this time, hopefully on this show, you'll remember what the topic is for this week, because you totally blanked on it yesterday.
I did, but in my defense, on Sounds of Stadia, we had just I had an idea for the show, and then we decided not to do that, so we suddenly had to change it. So this time, we're talking about how Stadia is helping PlayStation.
That's right. We've got some synergy crossover, and actually the news this week pertains to that with the Haven story we'll get to in the news. But yes, plenty to talk about, plenty games, and if you are a Helix hero, you get that up to 6 days early, so why wouldn't you want to check that out? In fact, last week you got this show 3 days early because we record on a Friday. So happy days to everyone out there. Hope you're all staying cool in this crazy heat wave if you're over in the UK. Gentlemen, I know we spoke about it on another podcast. Jeff, Rob, have you two been melting this past week?
It's been awful. Yeah, it really has. Even more so at work. Our office doesn't have windows, so the temperature got up to 48 degrees the other day, and it was just the worst.
Shit, do they all use Mac PCs like?
Oh god! Is that the level of humour we've descended to now? Okay.
Oh, and they've had a move around, and they've built some walls and things to try and basically they've halved the bungalows to get more residents in, and they've had to give us a little makeshift office, and it's just not good. So unbearable. And the bedroom on a night time, I just want to. What do I have to do to have a cold pillow? That's all I want.
Ice in the fridge.
I don't want much from life. Just a cold pillow, please. It's
welcome to the cool side of the pillow.
How about yourself a beer cooler and just have a couple of pillows stacked in there, so if it gets too warm in the night, you can just throw that pillow and get a fresh one out.
That's what one has to do. But now I'm sick of being sweaty. It's not good.
It's definitely a state of being for the next, probably the rest of the next week and the week after. It seems.
I miss the winter.
We'll hate it when it's here. Trust me. Rob, how about you? You've been melting this week also?
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar position to Jeff, where I actually have windows, so that's a bonus, but my landlord kind of painted them shut. So
even worse.
It's those it's the ones where you lift up and they have the little string on them to kind of support them, and they've just been completely painted over in. So as much as I force it, as much as I kind of try to wedge it open, just nothing.
You're locked in. You locked into that heat box.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. We'll get there. We'll all survive. We will survive. So even though the temperature is hot, we've also got plenty of hot topical news stories to talk about this week. So, gentlemen, let's dive into it. We've got a very busy show. Richie, if you could do us the honours and introduce us to the
properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka
the news. Juicy news, lots of news, and whether it's hot or it's cold, we're going to break it all down. Starting with story number 1 of the week. PlayStation Plus is in an interesting place right now where we seem to get games almost on a weekly basis. And talking straight from the PlayStation blog, today we're happy to reveal the inaugural game catalogue library for all the new PlayStation Plus, which will be available to play for extra and premium members from the July 19th. It's headlined by the much anticipated feline adventure Stray, which makes its debut as part of the catalogue. Also featuring this Games Month catalogue is Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade. Jeff, I'm sure you're thrilled about that. Marvel's Avengers,
Absolutely.
5 Assassin's Creed titles, and 2 Saints Row titles added to your games library. So that's an absolutely ton of list expansions there. They've also added some classic games, No More Heroes from PlayStation Portable, and Loco Roco Midnight Carnival from the PSP, all available from July 19th.
Which is today.
Which is today at the time. Today, that day the show goes live, correct. I think what I'll do first, I'll throw it over to you, Richie, talk a little bit about Stray. Are you excited for this little cat adventure in a cyberpunk futuristic world? Because it's going to be free and it's launching date and date. What's the cat doing to you?
Yes, actually, because I've been doing this thing for probably about almost a month now where no game's really sunk its teeth into me. It's just been jumping all over the place. So I'm ready for something new, and this could be it. I think it looks cool. It's something a bit different. Mm-hmm. I think it might just be that thing. Okay, yeah, this is the right time for this game to come out for me.
Perfect. Who'd have thought a game about a cat? Who would have thought a game about a cat was all it needed to do to get people on the door? It's obviously been picked up as a freebie with PlayStation Plus. So yeah, I'm kind of the same with you. Where I'm in between some games at the moment. So yeah, I'm kind of holding off for Stray, which is usually something I don't do with PlayStation Plus games. They're usually something they get revealed, I claim them, don't download probably about 80% of them, and then just move on with my life and see what I get free next month. But yeah, very interesting lineup this time around, especially with, it does say in the blog, of course, this is the inaugural game catalogue lineup, which feels weird to get on the 19th of July, halfway through a month, when we did also get PlayStation Plus games at the beginning of the month with Crash Bandicoot 4 and the rest. Jeff, I'll hand it over to you next, purely on the basis that I think you've got the Platinum Trophy for probably most of these extra games. But what a lineup. Marvel's Avengers, Final Fantasy, a ton of Assassin's Creed games, and 2 Saints Row games. What a list, if you've not played them before.
Exactly what I was going to say. To be fair, if you haven't played any of them, I think it's unreal. Unfortunately, I have, other than Saints Row, and then of course Stray. I've played everything and finished everything there. But
you have the Platinum and Jumanji, the video game, and Paw Patrol on a roll.
I forgot about those two. Yeah, I don't have those. I've played most of them. I have, but yeah, certainly for anyone who hasn't, you can't fall off with it really, I would say. But yeah, definitely excited for Stray, 100%.
You know what? That's a good shout, Rich. I didn't realise there was a full broken down list at the end to go through. Yeah, so Assassin's Creed wise, Unity, Black Flag, Rogue Remastered, Freedom Cry, Ezio Collection, Saints Row Re-Elected, Saints Row Gat Out of Hell, Spirit of the North Enhanced Edition, Ice Age, Scrat's Nutty's Adventure, I know everyone loves that one, Jumanji the video game, Paw Patrol, On a Roll, and Ready Set Heroes. So, getting a lot bigger. I will say, Jeff, while I've got you on the show as well, I talked to Richie quite a few times on our Sounds of Stadia podcast. I, for one, am a huge fan of the Avengers game. Richie, not so fussed on it. Enjoys to play it, but not fussed on the end game. Definitely, well, yeah, we won't get into that, but definitely I'd say for those who've maybe just checked out Miss Marvel on Disney Plus this past week as well, what a time to jump into a game that has a campaign centered around that particular character as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I really enjoyed the game. My only issue was there wasn't enough kind of level variation, and especially it didn't take me long to talk about trophies, did it? If you're someone who hunts trophies, there is one for doing 50 hives. And I think it actually had taken me about 80 or 90 hives for the trophy to pop. It was very glitched, so I almost had a bit of a sour taste by the end. But overall, I really enjoyed the game. I mean, it's all your favourite characters, and what's not to like? You know, I had no bugs, no glitches that people seem to mention. It was a real fun experience. Like, me and Natalie played it all the way through, and yeah, I thought it was cracking, to be fair.
Yeah, we've certainly enjoyed our time with it. It was just a case of it seemed a bit lost sometimes with what it wanted to be as a game. I think I do very much feel if it was more in line with the Guardians of the Galaxy title that we got, it probably would have been much more received. But that leaning into the games as a service, and they quite didn't know how to get a grasp on games as a service, I think, suffered quite a lot, unfortunately.
It just felt a little bit too kind of copy and paste in areas as well, and then ultimately just to keep fighting Taskmaster and Abomination was a bit of a letdown. And then how can the Spider-Man web, swinging from the PlayStation 1 or 2 or whatever be better than the Spider-Man in this game?
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, it's just a bit crazy.
I always give it a bit of a pass because you got a lot of different characters. You're not going to get Marvel Spider-Man equivalent, that quality.
We've been spoiled a little, haven't we, because of how good that was. Yeah.
For me, as you've already touched on it, my issue was always everything just felt cookie cutter, and it felt all about grinding up your levels for all the characters. I always had the question in my mind of why? What is the purpose of maxing out the levels on all my characters? Because it's not really giving me access to more interesting content. It's just more of the same all the time.
It's so you can become the world's mightiest hero, Richie.
Level design was never that good to begin with, to be honest. So outside the story stuff was great.
Yeah.
But as soon as you got outside the story stuff, I think it very dropped in quality very harshly for me.
Harshly, but thankfully though, if you're not into the Avengers, there's a full list of other games. Rob, this is several more titles added to your game catalogue as well in this inaugural list. Does a handful of Assassin's Creed games do anything for you, or is it back to Final Fantasy, or does the little cat stray?
The Ezio collection for me is the clincher, because I've wanted to replay those games for a while now, and the fact that they've kind of been dumped on my subscription service is a huge bonus. More and more I see from PlayStation Plus is it seems like the type of service that's perfect for someone like me who fell out of the PlayStation ecosystem for 12 to 18 months, and like all these kind of titles are really pulling me back in. The less said about Saints Row, the better. That's kind of like a series.
You don't enjoy running around the city with a giant dildo bat?
No, I enjoy that. I just didn't enjoy the elements.
That's the only thing you enjoyed.
Like the elements in the latest game, it just went kind of a bit too out there for my tastes. But like Assassin's Creed, Ezio Collection. I'll definitely jump into Final Fantasy. Avengers again. It didn't keep my attention for more than a few hours just because of the issues you've all listed. But for a month to kind of release, it's strong, right? Like I kind of expected a bit of quiet for a little while, but apparently not with these titles.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning with the Final Fantasy as well. It does come with the episode intermission, which is the Yuffie DLC,
which is really good.
Did we not get Final Fantasy without that? We didn't get the Integrate one a few months back.
Integrate is the upgrade. Is the PS5 version of the remake. Episode intermission is the DLC. I think we did. Yeah, I think we just got Integrate. I don't think we got the episode intermission because I don't own episode intermission. So
right, okie. But yeah, definitely a strong list. Obviously, Ubisoft doing quite a bit of heavy lifting when it comes to the list, and I think Ubisoft Plus we know is imminently due on the platform as well. And then this kind of library is being padded out with what they've referred to as Ubisoft Classics. And they're going to constantly add titles because Ubisoft, of course, have a rich library all unto themselves. They have confirmed as well that they're going to keep expanding the Ubisoft games and just kind of tying in another news story of the week with this one. Reading from the PlayStation blog again, a separate article. Ubisoft Classics initially launched with 27 Ubisoft titles, including Assassin's Creed Valhalla, The Division, For Honor, etc. And they have plans to expand the library to over 50 titles by the end of 2022. So it looks, gentlemen, as though Ubisoft won't be letting up quite yet with this offering, and it just kind of probably means that we should expect to see more things from the world of Tom Clancy indefinitely, and also probably some Far Cry sprinkled in there at some point. I'd imagine Ubisoft and PlayStation want to get some of their big hitters on. It does lead me to believe, though, if they've got neither 50 titles in the PlayStation Plus library, what's the point in getting Ubisoft Plus? If you can just get probably most of their biggest hitters included with a list of PlayStation games too. It seems like an odd deal from a Ubisoft standpoint. But Richie, you've trialed Ubisoft Plus from time to time. We've jumped in during a few of our live streams to play games that we don't want to quite buy fully outright. What do you think the Ubisoft Plus is going to look like on PlayStation after all things are said and done?
I think if you have PlayStation Plus, it's going to be a less profitable, less enticing value proposition for Ubisoft Plus and PlayStation. But the big difference will be the new stuff. With Ubisoft Plus, you'll get, like, when the next Assassin's Creed or the next Far Cry comes out, you'll get that day and date. And it typically is like the Ultimate Collector's whatever edition as well. So you get everything, not just the base version of the game. So I could see it, that's where the value will come in with the newer stuff. And if you play on multiple platforms like we do, Ubisoft Plus then has the advantage with Ubisoft Connect, so you can bounce between platforms dead easy.
That's a good, great point. They've actually just reminded me of the value in it. Jeff, you sometimes buy the gold editions, right? Because you're always one of those folks who's going to buy the season pass and complete all of that DLC because you hate to have your trophy list left on like 90%. As time goes by and it slowly dips down, I know it's a thorn in many trophy hunters' sides. Ubisoft, they do bring a lot of value with their season pass and the DLC content and their free support as well.
I think so, yeah. Especially the last couple, like looking at the Far Cry games where you've got like Blood Dragon with 6 and you got Far Cry 3 Classic Edition with 5, was it? And then the DLCs have been pretty good. I know 6 was a little bit repetitive. I know you did like Vass's Story, didn't you? And then Pagan Min, and it was pretty much the same thing, just in a different setting. But like you say, when you want that 100% back, you just kind of... yeah, can't help it.
Chip away. Yeah, we had a great time with the Far Cry 5 DLC with the zombies, the Vietnam, and the space missions. It was just so varied. It was really fun.
That space mission is really funny. Who is it that's with you? Isn't it Herc or something like that?
Yeah.
And his dialogue is hilarious. Yeah, it's just really funny.
Crazy redneck American. We love them. But yeah, so PlayStation Plus getting a lot bigger. Of course, at the time of listening, you can claim and play Stray right now. So I'm sure there's going to be millions of facts that come out about so many. 1 million cats petted this month. 2 million dumpsters pushed over. How many ornaments knocked off the mantelpiece? There's going to be loads of stats coming out off the back of Stray, and it looks great. Very intrigued to play it, and I just hope it lives up to its expectation as well, because there's a lot of expectation riding on it. Moving on though to story number 2, we got a big announcement from the PlayStation blog post again this week that after 27 years, Sony is finally embracing their audience, and they've introduced PlayStation Stars, not PlayStation All Stars. They're not making a comeback from that amazing fighting game that was missing a few key characters. We will see a sequel to that at some point, I do believe. But yes, reading from the blog, to help create meaningful gaming experiences, create fond, lifelong memories for players, all of us at PlayStation take special joy in creating unique products and experiences that delight our fans. This includes everything from consoles to critically acclaimed games to community challenges, etc., etc. It goes on. Today, we are pleased to reveal PlayStation Stars, a brand new loyalty program that celebrates you, the player, for being on this ever-growing gaming journey with us. PlayStation Stars will be free to join when it launches later this year, and once you become a member, you'll earn rewards by completing in a variety of campaigns and activities. Our monthly check-in campaign simply requires you to play any game to receive a reward, while other campaigns may require you to win tournaments and specific trophies, Jeff, and on every other player to platinum a blockbuster title in your local time zone. It's going to give you the opportunity to earn loyalty points. Points can be redeemed in a catalogue that may include PlayStation Wallet funds and on selected PlayStation Store products. And PlayStation Plus members are enrolled automatically to earn points for purchases on the PlayStation Store. So it does go on to give a little bit more detail, but for now, just focusing on the top aspect of it. A loyalty program. It's been a long time coming. I know Xbox and Google and Apple and stuff, they've all kind of have these little internal programs running anyway. But I think, Jeff, I've probably got to go to you straight away. Rewards for trophies, the trophy hunting, the years of and hours of work is finally going to pay off with some actual monetary gain, it would seem.
Imagine if they backdated it.
You could just retire tomorrow.
That's it. I think it's a great idea. I'll be honest, due to like work and things, I haven't had a lot of time to look into every little detail of the whole program. But from what I've seen, I think it's cracking and something that they should have been doing a long time ago. But yeah, I'm not expecting an awful lot in your wallet for getting trophies. But if it's something, it's going to build up. And
anything's nice.
Even if you can pick up a little game every now and again, just for doing something I would have done anyway. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, they do go in to say things like rewards. They've got digital collectibles are going to be there as part of their portfolio. And we will stress, they did clarify afterwards, this is not NFTs. These aren't resaleable. These aren't something you can just whack on like the stock market or something. Like, I earned a God of War trophy for Ragnarok. I will sell it to you for 20 pence. None of that. No trophy. Could you imagine the way that would mess up with the market if you could maybe like sell your trophies, Jeff? Imagine how many people out there bargaining on an auction for the rarest platinum trophy going.
That'd be crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Well, they've experimented a bit before. When I know I've got a couple of platinum trophies, and when I got the platinum, I got an email saying, "Here's a new avatar. Thank you for playing our game."
They did do that.
That was such a nice little thing. It's like, thank you for putting so much time in our game. We'll just give you this little thing.
Yeah, it's a nice little touch. Even though it does sometimes come like several weeks after you finish the game. Like, what's this?
Do you remember? I think it's on one of the Smash Bros games where you can like playing the game, you like get in-game trophies, and you had a gallery view where you could have a look at them all. Imagine how cool that would be.
PlayStation Home. We're all going to have our little avatar worlds from the PlayStation 3 days where you get to walk around. There's a snooker table, there's a cinema room, and in the trophy room is going to be your actual trophy room. Could you imagine? It's going to come back. Rob, loyalty programs. You said you're kind of lapsed PlayStation. You're coming back into the ecosystem. As someone who's probably going to be playing through an absolute plethora of games you've not touched in a while, you're going to be stacking up these digital rewards as well. Does this do much for you?
I think a lot of the time for me, it's going to be the difference between choosing a game on, because I'm quite platform agnostic when it comes to choosing where to play a game, because the majority happens in a web browser for me. It may just be the tipping point to choose PlayStation over one of the other platforms more consistently, and if that's kind of what they're going for, I think it could be kind of a good win for Sony. But yeah, I'm not expecting to be able to buy a new game every other month with like my rewards or things like that. But it's one of the things. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're not dropping They're not dropping £10 for getting a gold trophy or something like that on there. Or you bought a game, he's 50% off the sequel or something.
It's the latest AAA release. Have fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because obviously it ties in with if games at the moment, we know PlayStation are not going to go the Game Pass route where you're going to get their AAA day one exclusives for like a £10 a month subscription fee. You're going to have to spend £70, $80 to play those titles. Like we know God of War Ragnarok, we said on last week's episode, the collector's editions were astronomically priced, and anyone viewing and listening out there will notice that they've already sold out, and scalpers have already got them up on eBay and stuff for twice, 3 times the price. And whether they just need to make some more, or that's just kind of the world we live in, I think rewards like this could go a long way to just giving you like that ecosystem boost, where why would you go anywhere else when you're getting little 10% here, little 5% here, maybe a couple of pounds or pennies. And it does all feed in. Again, I know we'll always revert back to you, Jeff, when it comes to the trophies, but they do a lot to keep somebody in an ecosystem. I think once you get kind of bought in so far, you're not going to want to then suddenly pivot to getting Microsoft points, because you've it almost doesn't feel the same. It's kind of similar to most things in life when people stick with kind of their brand loyalty. Everyone out there has probably got an iPhone. It's probably on their 10th iPhone by now because you're into that ecosystem where all your purchases are in the App Store. You've already put a lot of money down. You're comfortable with it as well, which goes a long way. As human beings, we're generally quite lazy. We just stick with the people we know. How many iPhone people are listening or viewing right now have been told Android's better for X amount of reasons? And do you give a shit? No, because you're happy with your iOS device that you've always just been familiar and comfortable with. And I think it goes a long way to just even just the color palette. When people see like just the blue of PlayStation, I think it resonates either a lot of nostalgia or the sacred symbols, the brand, the logo. And I think this could be quite interesting. And depending on how they implement it, are we going to have like a little digital wallet within the PlayStation app? Is it going to pop up at the checkout and notify us going like, oh, by the way, I know you're about to spend £40, but there's about £3 credits sat there on your PlayStation Stars account. And hopefully it's seamless. That's what it needs to be, just a seamless use of promos. Little collectibles could be nice. And I'm glad to hear they've committed very quickly to it not being NFTs. That could have been a big blowback for them. So, by the end of the year, gentlemen, so not too long to wait either, which is always good to see. So, PlayStation Stars rolling out soon. Moving on then to our next story of the week. Assassin's Creed. It always seems to be in the news since Valhalla had about 50 pieces of free content and DLC and a whole new expansion that's bigger than half of the games they've put out. It's reportedly back. Now, there was some rumours this week that the next Assassin's Creed game would be adventuring into the Aztec realm, However, that has been quashed now. Eurogamer and Jason Schreier from Bloomberg have confirmed that is not the case. So they've debunked the Aztec claim. However, the game, I think, Richie, we reported on it a good few months back now on the Sounds of Stadia podcast, that the next game, Assassin's Creed Rift, is apparently now rumoured to be set in Baghdad, and it's going to follow Basim, the side character from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for anyone out there who's played that. We don't really know much more about the game, but it does seem to be returning back to its story-focused roots. It's not going to be as massive open world. However, what I wanted to do is pause on that for a moment and throw it back over to you, gentlemen, and see where you would like to see it going next. So if Assassin's Creed doesn't quite go to the Aztec Empire of old,
so this is
Rob,
going to be a weird one. But
where would you like
I
to see
I was the
Assassin's
only
Creed
person
adventure into
who
next?
Really, really enjoyed the modern day sections in the older kind of Ezio collection titles. So the way kind of the whole Desmond arc went was, to me, very, very unfulfilling. So I'll do two answers, okay? First one is, I would like to see a modern Assassin's Creed set in somewhere like the UK, where kind of they can get past the kind of the issue of having modern guns everywhere. So somewhere you can still rely on kind of melee and things like that in a modern setting would be really good. In terms of historical, I think I'd really love to see like a Byzantine Empire kind of after the fall of like the main Roman Empire, kind of that cut off, because I think that's quite an interesting time period in history, and it kind of fits in the kind of original, at least era, which I liked as well. So there's two answers for you there.
Yeah, back in with it. I always joke with Assassin's Creed games that Ubisoft, if they ever think Assassin's Creed is failing, they have their little kind of like smash glass return to Ezio option is always there. Like, just go back and take the entire collection, but tell either a continuation story or a brand new story with Ezio, because you know any game that's got him on the title cover is like it with modern day AAA graphics. It's like you're gonna get all the players who come flooding back who love the old games. You've got all the ones who embrace the new titles.
Yeah.
It's just Ezio. He's just the coolest motherfucker out there, isn't he? Really, when it comes to the Assassin's Creed characters. Richie, how about yourself? Where would you like to see the world of Assassin's Creed go next?
For me, it's always been feudal Japan, but specifically, there was an era of feudal Japan where several different lords were trying to like conquer Japan and unify it. It was like, it's often referred to as the Warring States era. That era, I think, would be absolutely fantastic for an Assassin's Creed game. It's so rich with like cultural heritage from that part of the world, which we don't get as much over here. So I think it'd be interesting in that perspective. And then you can get like, you have samurais and ninjas, so the assassins over there could be ninjas.
Yeah,
and that's how the assassin, the Guild of Assassins, are over there. So I could see like very easily working like a Templar versus Assassin story into that era quite well.
Yeah, it's a part of the world I've not really explored, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall at Ubisoft when they throw around all these ideas, and then they hear that Sony are working on a Ghost of Tsushima game, which is centered around Japan, and it's got samurais and all of that. And
but that game sales just show you how well that kind of aesthetic is like looked at.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I do wonder, do they think just like, we've been beaten to the punch now, like we'll just be referred to as a copy of Ghost of Tsushima at this point. So I wonder if it was so far in development, it's almost been put on the back burner to give a bit of breathing room now, because you don't want to compete too much.
Well, you could go different.
Hear me out.
Maybe over into China or something, similar stuff over there.
I mean, there's also the counterpoint of like Ghost of Tsushima doing well could actually boost the sales of an Assassin's Creed set in Japan. So you actually just don't know how the dice are going to land sometimes. But interestingly enough, you mentioned China there. I think I would, as a big Dynasty Warriors fan, I know you are as well, Rob, I would love to see the Romance of the Three Kingdoms played out with Assassin's Creed lore spun throughout it.
Like a
that
crossover
would be
between those two
phenomenal
games would be
and so much rich culture and heritage. Yeah, we just don't get much.
No, it doesn't matter. You just
get
you
Koei
just have to
Tecmo involved.
like the kind of
They're very different like gameplay styles.
They are.
Who are infantry that normally get slaughtered can then push ahead. That would be a game.
Yeah, everyone wasn't happy that the new games
Yeah.
don't focus on stealth mechanics. Well, you know what? We're going to go all-out Musou mode on it, and you're going to take down 1,000 people in 20 minutes. That's how the assassins roll in ancient China. Could you imagine? That would be great to see. But yeah, I think the culture and the heritage, we kind of aren't exposed as much to it in the West. And I think games like Ghost of Tsushima have really opened up to actually totally different cultures and heritages and history that we just don't get. And I really appreciate, one of my reasons I absolutely adore the Assassin's Creed games is I think I learned so much about history, and you get to go back through and play like ancient Rome, ancient Greece. There's so much to play with in there, and like you said, they've not really touched that much on the modern world. I know when you said the UK there, my brain, I think Jeff might have done the same thing. I immediately just went to Watch Dogs Legion and thought
I was going to say, why didn't you play Watch Dogs?
Like in London, awkward, no
Yeah,
use of guns, but you have guns, but they're not really guns. It's an interesting one, but
it's more that, it was more the modern story, which I hated being shot.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who couldn't get into it. Yeah, I mean, even in the new ones like Odyssey and Valhalla and stuff, they still struggle shoehorning the modern stuff in. It's almost
I think
like
the base story is
just make
really
it its own game and let's focus on it separate.
That Spider-Man couldn't wait to go play MJ in like an infinitely more boring format. The stealth missions playing as MJ. Yeah.
What you mean, the best missions in Spider-Man? You mean?
But again, there's an interesting story there. It's taking you away from the lights and the magic of the main course, if you want.
It is, yeah. Why would you have that? Yeah, you're completely right there. But plenty of interesting stuff to see. Jeff, you've got probably all the platinum trophies for all the Assassin's Creed games, so you're well cultured in knowing exactly what these stories are about. You could probably tell us Desmond's full backstory all the way to modern day times. Where would you like to see Assassin's Creed go next for you?
Richie's pretty much said word for word what I was going to. I mean, I've had conversations with mates going over the years, and I've always said feudal Japan as well. But then I'm going to kind of echo what you said as well, Chris, that because of what Sucker Punch have done, are they going to just avoid that completely now? But then I could be mistaken, but didn't Valhalla come out at a similar time as God of War, which I know isn't exactly the same, but it's kind of around the same mythology to a point, and they didn't kind of stay away from committing. So, I'd like to think that they've got the guts to just do it one time and see how it performs.
I'm not sure whether it's guts with Ubisoft, because you have to remember Ubisoft have been known to bring out similar titles, both published by themselves, within like a week of each other, and just cannibalize themselves. So when it comes to what other companies are doing, I don't think they care when they don't even seem to go. Yeah, I'm thinking of Valhalla and Immortals Phoenix Rising,
and Watch Dogs,
and Watch Dogs, totally different games, but you could tell they came off the same like design philosophy. But yeah, I think them 3 games were within a month.
It's like
of
a month,
each
yeah.
other.
And I think it was like November 2020. It was like, just the finish, just get them out. It's like, sir, should we hold off maybe until after the rush? Call of Duty and FIFA, and I was like, no, get them all out. Crazy, great games though, to the 100 degree. Immortals Phoenix Rising is a cracking game. I do hope we see more of that one. And yeah, there's just so much they could do. It's interesting because all these video games are, of course, made in like little incubated silos where they don't see the outside world. These poor devs are shut off in rooms with painted windows and no air conditioning, like the two of you guys, and they're just told to work on these games. And then like obviously many years pass, and they must look at other releases and go, shit, they're doing the same thing to us. And we've actually going to see a prime example this year. Dead Space Remake comes out in February or March. Callisto Protocol, which is a spiritual successor, they've just beat them to the punch, and it comes out this winter. I think it's November or December. How that's going to impact Dead Space's sales when it's essentially they look like the same game, just with like slightly different tweaks to it. I'm sure with different stories and such, but made in complete separate silos, different companies, and then all of a sudden they're coming to market within 3 months of each other. And you think, it could either be really, really good or really, really bad. But I guess you always want to be the first out of the gate, right? When it comes to marketing. Rob, you're a marketing guy.
When like this happens, is they'll probably find out what at least a year before they're actually finished on their project, like individual projects, and they have to potentially watch this kind of slow motion car crash that they have to keep driving towards. and then they've got no choice. They commit to the route, so that must kind of suck for them. You do get the occasion where sometimes, like, kind of market forces can build on each other. So we mentioned Valhalla kind of. I guess there was like the peak Viking phase was kind of came along with Valhalla, and it was also the Vikings TV show. So sometimes like
Ragnarok,
multiple titles can
MCU
ride the same
definitely would
wave,
have helped a
but
lot.
it depends on the comparative quality, I think.
Yeah, with Dead Space and the Callisto Protocol, I think some of the guys who worked on the original Dead Space are working on Callisto Protocol, so just really slam these two in together.
Yeah.
And it almost feels destined to one of these to be the better one, and then it's like, why would you play this one when this one's better?
Yeah, and that's, I guess, where being the first out the gate, because the second one obviously is backed by EA, so you're going to imagine there's going to be a lot of clout with like graphic fidelity and marketing.
Ideally,
for one.
if you're the weaker game, you want to be the first out the gate, so people play you before.
Yeah.
Then they may retroactively look at it and go,
issue, I think, is
that wasn't as good, but you've already played it now.
Yeah, and it puts them in with Game of the Year running too. So Callisto Protocol could be snagging a few Best Horror Game of 2020, 2021, Best Visually, Best Sound, Best Score, and then 2 months later, Dead Space
like
remake comes out, but it hasn't got all these plaudits that Callisto
banished
Protocol
to the
could have.
PlayStation Store sale type of purchase. If we'll see.
But yeah, it's interesting to see how like the synergy of all different markets and demographics does come together. But I think the Viking Age, I think you had kind of Game of Thrones was huge, was absolutely ginormous, and then off the back of that, I think Vikings benefited from that kind of like nitty gritty kind of brutality that Game of Thrones had. And then you're right, you've got God of War, obviously Game of the Year winning, and now ironically enough, as Valhalla's on its way out, they've got the final piece of content at the end of this year. They're going to reveal a new Assassin's Creed. We've just got another Thor movie that's just arrived this past week, and then also we've got another God of War now landing. So like, you've got to imagine God of War is going to reignite some players in Valhalla's world who maybe don't want to drop the £70 for the God of War and think, you know what, if I want Vikings, I'll just go back to Valhalla again and I maybe complete that Dawn of Ragnarok massive expansion that I never got round to. And it's the synergy across all kind of these different multimedia fronts is it's crazy. For better or for worse, it's the world we live in right now. You just kind of hit with it all. But Assassin's Creed, I don't think will be going anywhere anytime soon. It's celebrating its 15th anniversary this month, so 15 years, guys, of Assassin's Creed. Who'd have thought when you stood there and you jumped off your first eagle perch back in the first Assassin's Creed? I wouldn't be surprised if we get a remake of that. Well,
that's the thing,
let's say about Prince of Persia remake that's been put on hold.
Franchise, right?
Not bad at all. It's done them wonders. But yeah, do we think we'll see a Assassin's Creed like remake of the first one?
That game's exceptional.
Anytime soon, like expanded story world.
Basic when you go back to it, like it's all kind of very formulaic. So yeah, I'd love to see a remake.
Yeah, I think we might see a remake within Infinity. If Infinity is kind of what I think it might be, where it's just kind of central hub where you can go play various different stories and different eras of Assassin's Creed. I think that could be like the Altair stuff could be revisited through that. Then with it being a bit basic, a bit like kind of smaller in scale, it would fit a bit easier there.
Yeah,
I'd be up for a full remake, but I just don't see it anytime soon, to be honest.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like the way Ubisoft are going.
I think that's a good shout, Richard. We've theorised a few times of what the rumoured Assassin's Creed Infinity could look like, and in my mind, I definitely picture a Crash Bandicoot Warped. There's the Animus in the middle, there's all your little portals, and it's like, if you want to go to feudal Japan, there's your portal, zoom, you get sucked into that world, and you pick up with your own character. I think they're going to very much give, like, it's going to be a games as a service, so they're going to let you make your own assassin and live out your own Assassin's Creed, but you can jump back in and play maybe Ezio's stories through the Italian Renaissance portal. You can play your Valhalla dreams through the Valhalla portal, but it's all going to be contained within this hub of Assassin's Creed Infinity. And I think all the content, all the DLC, because they've spent a lot of the last few years basically remastering and repackaging these. We saw the Ezio collection, we saw Assassin's Creed 3 remaster get one, and that's probably one of the least favoured of the games. So they're doing stuff behind the scenes, and we'll find out more about that later this year at the Ubisoft Forward, Gamescom, or whenever they decide to show off the next entry in the franchise. Moving on though, everyone, speaking of franchises that should be making a return hopefully soon, Metal Gear Solid series turns 35 this week, and Konami is marking the moment by confirming one of the worst announcements ever. The game that was available on stores that was taken down due to licensing agreements is now returning for sale. So not the most exciting birthday present, I'm sure you can agree, but Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty HD Edition, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater HD Edition, which were removed from the PS Store back in November due to they used stock World War footage, and they need to renew the license for that stock footage of like tanks and weapons basically, and now it's back on the PSN Store, so you can finally play Metal Gear Solid series once again. Although after talking about Assassin's Creed for so long, 35 years Metal Gear Solid, why haven't we got remakes of these yet, guys?
Remake Metal Gear Solid 1 for 35-year anniversary would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would be special.
Obviously we had like Twin Snakes and stuff, and we've had the HD ports, but it's been a long time. Like the games hold up to a degree, but they're not quite like the controls aren't modern on a lot of them. Like running around in Metal Gear Solid 2, it almost feels like you're using tank controls still.
The style of remake I would be thinking is the difference between Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake, where they are inherently the same story, but they do feel very different in how they play. There's a lot of crossover. So it still is Final Fantasy VII, but it's also, this is what they would have made if they could back in the day. That's the kind of remake I'd be looking for. But I mean, it's more games to the platform is always good, even if they were once already there.
But yes, Metal Gear Solid definitely due a remake of some way, shape or form, and we just kind of need to know where Konami stand, because they're not really putting out that many games, and yet this franchise is probably one of the only few left out there that hasn't had some kind of rejuvenation in the past 10 years. I mean, look at The Last of Us. We're getting a remake of The Last of Us Part 1, and that's only 9 years old, and we're talking about a franchise that's just turning 35, and we're yet to see a reimagining remake of some kind of these phenomenal titles. And I do think a lot of it comes down to Kojima, obviously not being at Konami anymore, and Konami make that much money from their casino pachinko machines over in Japan. It's not their business's full focus making video games. We know it's a very costly measure, but I'm just waiting for that moment Sony announced that they've purchased the IP from Konami. Take Silent Hills, probably get Kojima on board as a consultant again, give it to Blue Point, who've just made a fantastic Demon's Souls remake, and just do it to there. So they've got the tools, I think. We just need someone to finally pull that trigger on that revolver. Rob, you're a huge Metal Gear Solid fan.
Start all the way.
Would you start at number one, or would you do something different?
I think the Metal Gear Solid franchise, for probably its first time in history, is in like a really weak place right now. What's the last title, which I don't even commit to memory because it was so bad? The zombie, it was so bad. I tried to forget it ever existed.
Yeah, the one where you went through like a portal and you fought zombie people.
Survive, yeah.
Metal Gear. What is it? Metal Gear Survive, is it?
Rise?
That almost killed the franchise. But I think a really good remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, which is arguably the best game in the Metal Gear Solid series and arguably the best game of all time. I'd argue that. Like, a remake of that could turn that franchise around in no time, and I'd love to see a 3 remake.
Well, that's where you can go interesting, can you? Because chronologically, 3 is the first one. So do you approach chronologically and start off arguably with the best one and then work your way back? I do remember, Jeff, though, you absolutely gushing praises for Phantom Pain. When you finished that one.
That was 2015. That was 7 years ago.
I absolutely love that game. It's phenomenal. I mean, I enjoy them all. It's one of my favourite series of all time. And I don't remember 3. I have played 3, but just one time, way back when. I don't really remember it. Where the others I played multiple times. So yeah, it's something I definitely need to play again.
It's one of those franchises where they could give themselves such a solid roadmap that would practically, like, let's be honest, it would print money for them. Like, because you've got the story, obviously you might need to get rid of some of the conversations that have become dated a little bit. I think you might need Eva maybe to zip up the top a little bit more.
I know the headlines right now.
Put maybe a few more clothes on certain characters, but
like
if you
quiet.
Yeah, definitely. But again, as far as like coming up with a video game, we've seen the reason these remasters and these collections do so well is because it's taking something that's so beloved, and unlike a movie, they do get dated somewhat. And I think we've reached a point where graphically video games have looked gorgeous for the last 10 years now. So you're not really going to trip up too much on them dating too poorly. So go back in. You've got all of the stories laid out, 4 or 5 games if you want to. For Konami, that could be the next 20 years of printing money. And it's just sat on the table waiting for someone to actually buy into it and go, right, let's start at 1. 4 years later, we'll get out 2. I mean, just look what they're doing with Final Fantasy, Richie. You said that's the kind of style you want. How long is it going to take them by the time we get all these part 1, 2, and 3s out? You're probably talking a decade, right?
Longer than I wish. I almost wish they'd kind of put off releasing Final Fantasy VII for a couple of years, so you could almost go 1, 2, 3 within the space of maybe a 5-year period rather than a decade. But
you're going to play it and love it all the same, right?
But that's because this is Final Fantasy VII is one game that's been split up into multiple games, where we're talking with Metal Gear Solid, the franchise. This is a series of games, so you could just do, here's the first one, when the second one's ready, that'll come, when the next one's ready, that'll come, and so on. It's weird. It's like what Pokemon doing for the Pokemon games. They started with remakes of the original Red and Blue, and then every couple of years they'll bring out a remake of the next generation and the next generation.
Yeah. There will be a interesting point where you catch up. We joked a little bit, but the Far Cry games, Jeff, you said you got Far Cry 3 free with 5, and we got Blood Dragon free with 6.
That's right.
It's almost like a Back to the Future scenario where they're going to hit themselves at one point, and it's like, do we remake 5 to give with 7? Or it's an interesting place they're going to find themselves in. But I guess we have to cross that kind of time conundrum at some point. And I don't like to see a franchise that's so beloved and so phenomenal just sat. Like, is it for its 35th birthday? What the old game HD version just go back available on the store? That's all you've got for us, Konami. It seems a bit weak for what it is. Solid Snake would not be impressed. Anyway, let's move on to the next story of the week. The Quarry, of course, came out earlier on this summer to much praise and positive review. It was the actual top-selling PlayStation game of last month, so it's done really well. Over on the blue side of the pond. Of course, The Quarry from developers of Until Dawn. They're currently running the Dark Pictures anthology as well, which was one of your free PlayStation Plus games to claim this particular month. Supermassive Games have been acquired by Nordisk Games, which are the UK team behind... who also have the Just Cause developer Avalanche Studios and Castlevania Lord of Shadows studio Mercury Stream. So Nordisk Games are in the middle of some kind of acquisition spree. So for a change, it's not Microsoft buying up Activision Blizzard. It's not PlayStation buying up Bungie and otherwise. It's a smaller team, Nordisk Games, coming in and picking up Supermassive. Richie, I'll pass this one over to you. We're quite in depth with the Quarry people. Due to our Stadia podcast, of course. The Quarry was originally going to be a Stadia exclusive until Google shat the bed and that all went to pot. And they then got sold out to other people, and 2K came in as publisher, and you've got The Quarry on multiple platforms. So well done, Google, on that front. The Quarry doing very, very well. Supermassive Games, though, at one point, with the success of Until Dawn, it was always rumoured that PlayStation were looking to pick up this development studio. And now they haven't. They've missed their shot. What do you think?
Yeah, I think was Until Dawn a PlayStation exclusive or was it cross-platform?
Yeah, it was.
It was exclusive.
Yeah.
See, I see that when you get a game like that exclusive on a platform, you get this mental association between the developer and the platform. Mm-hmm. So it did feel like this would be a natural thing. I don't think the Dark Pictures anthology is done as well as probably they would like. I always forget them games exist, to be, if I'm perfectly honest. So I'm guessing Sony probably had conversations, but ultimately Nordisk Games jumped in. You never know. Sony might buy Nordisk Games.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's always a bigger fish, as they say. There's always a bigger fish. Jeff, you've played Until Dawn, and where are you at with The Quarry? Is it on your radar? Are you saving it for Halloween? Because I know you do enjoy a good playthrough of these with the wife.
Yeah, exactly that. But then with the fourth one coming, is it The Devil in Me?
It's the latest one.
We almost would have had that set for kind of Halloween time, so I don't know where I'm going to. I definitely will play The Quarry because, as I say, me and Natalie love sitting together and playing those types of games. But I think we did talk about this before, if I'm not mistaken, and I agree with Richie. I think from Until Dawn to the Dark Pictures anthology, they're definitely not on the same level. I enjoy them, but I don't think they're quite there.
Yeah, they suffer a little bit for me, similar to the Telltale games, where the cadence of release, having one every...
Yeah.
They don't really know, do they? They just kind of put out a press announcement, say, it's coming this November, and you're like, okay. And then the next one will be... And you're always kind of like waiting for the next chapter, even though they're not fully connected, but there's that guy who tells the overall story and he introduces you to it, the guy from the Lost World Jurassic Park who gets killed by the compies. That's how I know him. It's that Russian guy who's in multiple things. But in terms of Until Dawn, yeah, Richie, your association with PlayStation is definitely not unfounded. I always look at the guys who did Detroit Become Human in a similar way. They did Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. They had a 3-game deal with PlayStation and Sony, and then they just kind of broke off after Detroit Become Human, which was a terrific game, and we're probably never going to see a sequel because it was just a second-party deal that was made. So similar to these, I'm sure they'll come to all platforms still, but yeah, interesting that PlayStation didn't snap them up. However, the trajectory seems to be that Until Dawn was their best game, and they're on a downward trajectory now with the Dark Pictures anthology and The Quarry. Although they're not terribly received, they're not quite as revered as Until Dawn, so maybe a good move.
The major criticism ahead of The Quarry is it's not quite as good as Until Dawn, where after such a gap in time, you expect it to be better. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the things with PlayStation, it might have just been, maybe they had the eye on them, but it's like, it's not a high priority purchase for us. We've got other things that we need to put our money into first, and even Sony, they don't have unlimited money. It might be in case if we need to get some deals closed before we can actually move with this purchase. And unless Microsoft starts sniffing around, we're just happy for it to let it sit there, and we'll just wait. We'll just wait until the right time. I do wonder if Microsoft were seriously talking to them about maybe putting the bid in, would that have moved Sony's hand? And again, Nordisk Games, they're a third party, so nothing's really changed as probably how Sony looks at it. It's just a different corporate structure than they're under.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Embracer Group, who are just out there kind of buying anyone and everyone, every little studio going, and then eventually I'm waiting for one of the bigger fish to come along and just buy Embracer Group and just take everything under their umbrella in one fell swoop.
Apple.
Yeah, we are in a world of acquisitions, which brings us on to the next story of the week. The Sony deal for Bungie and also the Sony deal for Haven Studios has closed, which means we knew about it for some time. It was probably always going to go through. Money talks, after all, in the world of business. Bungie have finally completed their $3.7 billion acquisition of Bungie, the creators behind the Destiny franchise. And also Haven, which is Jade Raymond, which again, back to Google Stadia, we'll talk about in our CloudQuest episode this week, Richie, of PlayStation being helped out by Google Stadia for their sins. And that is Haven Studio, Jade Raymond, all the team there. They're getting loads of praise for working in the cloud, making a game that's going to utilise the powers of servers rather than the consoles to make the biggest multiplayer game ever. And they've been praised for the working from home and during COVID and upsizing their team through lockdown. And we have a little chuckle because we've reported on that studio for quite some time. And then when Google let them all go, Sony jumped in, saw the potential, and then they've decided after like less than half a year to acquire them, even though they've not put out a single title yet. So lots of interesting stuff going on behind the scenes, but we expected this to always happen. Just like I think the Microsoft acquisition of Activision is always going to go through. I think when you're talking with this much money, they wouldn't even, I think, show their cards without knowing that it was going to be finalised.
You don't really announce a purchase like that unless you've got all your ducks in a row. It would only be like something's changed last minute that would have knocked this off.
Yeah, you're completely right. They've run all this through their lawyers already, which I think Rob, do you suspect any more purchases to go through this year, or do we think the dust is going to settle a little bit now? Now the games industry has probably spent nearly 200 billion in the last 2 years on acquisitions.
This crazy. I still can't get over the fact that Sony now own Bungie. That's just like the 16-year-old me would just be so utterly confused at even the potential possibility of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, to add to how weird that is,
yeah, like,
Sony now
fuck?
own
like,
the company
going back
that
to like
created
the
Master
question,
Chief, and
I think it
Microsoft
probably
now
will
own the
start to
developers
slow
that
down
create
now.
Crash
I mean, we're
Bandicoot.
probably heading like to a recession in the UK at least.
Crazy.
More likely the wider world, and just the financials of things make a lot less sense for acquisitions when we're kind of in this kind of economy and things like that. So I'd hope there'd be a slowdown. Otherwise, I'm not sure what's going to be left to buy in another 6 months, apart from Sony Microsoft making a deal for Sony or something like of that nature. That's yeah, right.
I mean, you never know. The big kind of outlier that's always missing, I always say, is Apple. They're the one people who've got the cash capital in the bank. They have billions of cash just sat there waiting to burn, and they're obviously in most ecosystems, the music industry, the TV industry now. They've got all the telecom stuff, which rakes it in. It's the one industry that is worth more than all the others combined, and they're just sat on the fence. And I just think it's just a moment of time before they dive in and invest it to some degree, because out of all the big players, we've got Amazon with launching Amazon Luna, their cloud gaming thing. We've got Amazon Prime, they own Twitch now. You've got Google with Stadia. You've got YouTube Gaming. You've got all of that stuff kicking off. Sony obviously doing their thing. Microsoft doing their thing. I think the only outlier are Apple, who are not in this game yet. And I think it's just a matter of time. And with all these moves going on. Let's remember, 3.7 billion, that's only 0.3 billion short of what Disney paid to acquire the entirety of Star Wars. So that's how much money we're talking here. And we know what prints money as well. And that's Star Wars. But moving on to our final story of the week, everyone, and that is a nice little success story here from Sucker Punch. We alluded to them earlier on when we were talking about Assassin's Creed. Ghost of Tsushima has surpassed 9.73 million copies sold across both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, and they tweeted out a couple of statistics just to celebrate in the game's success. Of course, the Director's Edition came out last year. If you've not played that one on PS5, definitely go check that out. We've had 78 million photos taken, 75.18 million foxes petted within the game. 9.73 million sales, of course. 91.4 million Legend mode missions played. 998.5 million standoffs. 540 million duels. 94 million on-sites visited. And 64,037 years on horseback. Which is a random one to put out there. Which is why I think when we talk about Stray, how many cats are going to get petted in that game. But Ghost of Tsushima, Jeff, I'll start with you. Phenomenal game, right?
Oh, it really is. And I always crack the same joke, but when you were reading them stats, I'm sure that's just from my save file. You know, it felt like there was a million foxes, a million of those yellow birds to follow. I seen Jin's backside more than I.
Getting in that spa, that lazy person hot tub spa.
But yeah, absolutely phenomenal game. I have nothing but good things to say about the great adventures.
I'm actually playing through it right now. It was.
Indeed. Rob, have you played Ghost of Tsushima yet?
No, so I actually only started.
What part are you? Spoiler free. What part are you up to?
I just got out of like the
island split into three. So we're in part 1, 2, or 3.
Took me a while. Again, going back to the PlayStation Plus down like shortcomings, it took me a while to get my touchpad to sync up with the actions I need to do. But yeah, so far, like if the game continues with the quality I've seen so far, Sucker Punch deserve every one of those 10 million units sales. Like they absolutely do. It's a superb game so far. So yeah. And it's 1,000,000% deserved.
Oh yeah, they're going to smash past 10 million by the end of the year. There's absolutely no doubt.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just refreshing not having like waypoints and all over the map, and you were just kind of following the wind, as it were. It's just so beautiful, instead of having, like you say, waypoints and markers and just stuff dotted all over the screen.
No, not yet. But
yeah, very nice.
Yeah, Rob, have you done any of the duels yet with other, like, the Ronin? Oh, they are awesome. Like,
yeah,
it's such a cinematic, like, fighting thing. It's like could be straight out of, like, a Japanese, like, samurai movie.
Definitely. Well, I'm nearly
I have opted to play it in,
million standoffs.
white,
So if you don't come across a duel at some point soon, Rob, you're doing something in the game because there's millions of them out there
to pass up.
Oh, have you? You've gone
cool.
Total Kawasaki mode.
Oh no, I'm not that kind of.
I've always planned for my second playthrough to be like that. Are you playing in Japanese as well?
Yeah, I kind of regret not doing that now, but
I actually played through Ghost of Tsushima in Japanese with just subtitles, and it was awesome.
That's what I'm going to do today.
That sounds so cool. Replayability factor as well.
You can switch, like, in the menu.
Jump in and switch it up. But Ghost of Tsushima, it literally, it's such a gorgeous game on so many fronts that it wanted me to go, it pushed me to want to go to see Japan in person as well, I think, which is a credit to visually how good the game is. And it's just so good. I would actually, it's probably more recency bias, but there is part of me which thinks I might have enjoyed it more than God of War, which is saying a lot as well. But I think I haven't played God of War in a few more years, so it's almost that if I went back and played God of War leading up to Ragnarok, I might flip the coin back the other way and think, actually, God of War is so fucking good as well.
I need to replay God of War, actually, because Ragnarok's this year.
You do. Well, it's free as part of your PlayStation Plus collection, so
I own the game.
Jump in. And you own the game as well, yeah. Buying physical copies, boys and girls, always helps out. But that does bring us to an end of episode 5 of Talking the PS, your weekly PlayStation podcast, where we round up all of the PlayStation gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games. If you haven't done so already, do give the video a like and click that bell, subscribe, so you're kept in the loop with all of the amazing content we bring you here on the channel, like our live streams, our first looks, our community playthroughs, and our weekly topical side quests called CloudQuest, where we go off the beaten path, Richie, and discuss another topic. Remind the fine folks out there what we're discussing this week.
We're talking about how Stadia have ended up unintentionally helping PlayStation out.
Yeah, we alluded to it a little bit in the news, but yeah, Haven finally been sold, bought, acquired, whatever that looks like, and how the tech is helping PlayStation bring better titles to you, the gamers out there. Our Helix Heroes do get those episodes up to 6 days early, so if you're listening to this right now, if you're watching this show right now, it's available to our Helix Heroes from as little as 99 pence. You can support us for beautiful gentlemen a little bit more and bring you better quality content, and you get perks alongside that as well. If you're looking for like-minded gamers to chat to, we also have a very rich, vibrant Discord server with loads of wonderful folks talking all things video games, life, being an adult, and how damn hot the weather is out there. But that brings us, as I said, to an end. You can find me at CyberChris2077. You can find Richie at
RichieC89.
You can find Jeff doing all his trophy hunting goodness at
Platinum Jangus.
And we should do a shout out to your channel, actually, Jeff, while we're wrapping up on this particular week's show. We'll use Rob's segment for having no Twitter handle tags yet to fill out the time. You're a ghost of Tsushima. Tell the amazing folks out there, Jeff, your channel, because it's doing superbly well. We're all proud of you here at the Helix Cloud Games channel of how good your trophy hunting reviewing channel's doing. Yeah, tell the people about it.
Yeah,
point them your way.
Kind of had no idea it was going to be like this already, to be honest. It's been a little bit overwhelming. But yeah, yesterday was a good episode with Paul. I don't know if you've caught up on it. So
I've seen it go live,
Yeah, so as a rule, what I'm doing is reviewing other people's lists just by myself, just going through the PSN profiles page, talking about what they've done, what they haven't done, tips, advice, all that good stuff. But yesterday was the second episode of doing a review with the person. So I had my best pal around. Ideally, I want to do it with everybody, kind of like in this setting where they're in their own home. I can't exactly just bring everyone round to my house every time I want to do one. But Paul was round and we kind of had a great laugh going through it. Really funny episode as well. But yeah, just me waffling on PSN profiles, really. It's been really good, and the support and some of the kind words that I've had of people has been pretty amazing, to be fair.
Yeah, it's very much deserved.
Should definitely check it out if you're into PlayStation, like to hunt trophies. Yeah, there's loads going on. on the channel, and plenty more to come as well once I get my head around everything.
Yeah, that's it. You're dipping your toes into the world of content creation, and I know you reached out to us a little bit, asked some questions, and we've said constantly, time and time again on all of our shows, that if you're out there and you kind of want to do it, just do it. Like, just honestly dive in, buy the cheapest pieces of equipment you can possibly get, and you'll enjoy it. You'll genuinely will. Although, Jeff, it does take you away from trophy hunting. That's probably the biggest hardship you're having to come to terms with, that you'll have to put the controller down for an hour or two every week and actually
I know you can't see my hands, but I've been like this for the whole episode, just like worried that I haven't had any trophies this morning.
What are we up to right now, out of interest? You're on 403, I think, the last episode you're on, so you've missed the last 3 episodes. So after 3 weeks, how's the tally added up?
I think it's like 410 or 411. I haven't played as many easy games as I normally do. I know I won't go into all of them because we haven't got the time, but I'm playing 12 different games at the moment just try. Yeah, I know. By accident. They're all kind of with different people who are helping me
by
try
accident,
again.
They fell into my basket and purchased.
They're just. I turned the PS5 on, and somehow these games have just downloaded themselves. But
you're a madman.
Well, kind of with now, you just got so many games.
And because of the Discord as well, I've kind of started playing Aliens Fireteam with one of the guys. Someone helped me boost the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition online trophies that I couldn't get because the lobbies are dead. Mm-hmm. So now I've got them. I'm kind of getting up to level 60 just on my own in solo, running backwards and forwards with some supplies. Like literally, it's like a 20-hour grind of doing that. So there's just, mad.
I think I gave up on those Tomb Raider trophies in 2014.
Yeah. And then there's like the Cuphead DLC, Team Sonic Racing, F122, Modern Warfare, Lego Star Wars.
You know what you need to start doing? Streaming some of these. When you get your setup done, you need to start streaming some of these games because you put that many hours into them. There's about 100 hours worth of content for your channel there, mate.
Yeah, definitely is. But so much going on. It's just, and then the changing job. I'm used to having 4
Join
days
the rest
off a
of
week
us,
to
mate.
just hammer my games. Now I've got 2 days off a week, so it's just trying to balance everything.
I've got that on. I've also been sucked into Project Zomboid.
I know. Rob, what are you just planning on continuing through Ghost of Tsushima?
Title, like kind of survival horror. That's the trouble is that's a game you can't play when you're like kind of relaxing because any little kind of thing can get you killed. So I'm switching between. It's weird saying Ghost of Tsushima is kind of like a more relaxing title to chill out to, but that's what it is at the moment.
Oh, it can be quite zen. And Richie, are you just jumping in to stray with the cat?
Yeah, I think it will be. Maybe I've God of War or Ghost of Tsushima. I've just added to my mind.
No, they're out there.
I have played some absolute trash on PlayStation Plus in the last week, though.
What was your favourite of the trash?
Oh, what was it? I think it was. What was I playing last night? It was absolute garbage. It was one of the It was one of the shit JRPGs on there, and it was just like 90% text box. I played for about an hour and a half, and it's like, is this actually a game, or am I just reading text boxes?
Am I just playing Microsoft Word right
now?
It
was doing that thing where for some reason mid-scene suddenly the voice acting would go away or the music would go away. It was absolute garbage. But yeah, Death End Request, I think it was.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, me either. I was just like, I want to play something different. I want to just, you know what, I'm just going to go through the RPG list and just pick something that I don't think I would ever actually go for to see how good it is. Because sometimes you can be surprised. And I was surprised in a bad way.
I was surprised, but in a bad way. I got the Platinum Trophy in Ape Escape. I don't know if I said at some point. I got that, Jeff. You'll be proud of me.
I've read it. Well, I read it out for you. So that was going back to the channel when I did the monthly review. I give everyone on Discord a shout out who had supplied me with their Platinum.
I did post that in there. I did give you a little shout out for Ape Escape, and I think you done My Name Is Mayo 2 as well. I did, that was your fault.
No, it
wasn't. When you mentioned it on episode 1, I was like, it's been a while since I've done what do you call them, greasy platinums?
Grubby
platinums, yeah. I was like, you know what, it was like 79 pence, and I was like, you know what, I'll do it just to tick it up to 120. I think I might be on now.
Well, next month when I do July's review, I expect you to have done the third one.
We'll see. I don't know if I've got the PlayStation funds them all. I'm chipping away at Jurassic World Evolution 2. It takes so long to get them damn parks. There's got a chaos theory mode where you have to basically relive the movies. And in the first one, he wants to get your T-Rex to kind of see out the level and stuff. And my word, it took me like 7 hours just to get the park to a 5-star rating because every fucking dinosaur wants to escape and kill people as soon as there's a tropical storm. So I guess the movies ring true in the video game as well. But I'm chipping away. I'll get there. Although I am going to check out Stray this week anyway. So plenty of games to play, everyone. Plenty of trophies to hunt. And you can do all of that out there on your own time. Because that's been it for Talking the PS, episode number 5. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. For anyone who does watch us, do give us a rating. If you're watching on Spotify, give us those magical 5 stars, just like I get in Jurassic World. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. Goodbye.